What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today, I'm really excited to bring you my full review of the Spyderco Manix 2. This one is the lightweight variant and S110V DLT trading exclusive. What we'll be doing today is going through the knife specs, some size comparison knives for reference. I'll give you my thoughts and impressions, and if I have them, alternative recommendations. Let's go ahead and jump into the Manix 2. The Manix 2 lightweight comes with a 3.37 inch S110V blade, 4.66 inch FRN handles for an overall length of 8.03 inches. Claim weight on this knife is 2.9 ounces, which was one of the reasons why I wanted this one. I needed another summer lightweight carry knife. Let's go ahead and check the weight out on this. Coming in at 2.9 ounces, exactly as advertised. That's how I like to see it from Spyderco. Makes me feel confident that everything else that they advertise on the knife is going to be as advertised. Let's go ahead and bring out the size comparisons. First up, we're going to have the Demco AD 20.5, and then we'll go ahead and bring out the Spyderco Shaman, which I think is going to be a really nice reference for you guys out there that might be interested in this knife. Forward finger choil's in a slightly different position. I'm trying to go by the pivots here, and I think I need to move the Demco over slightly. So you can see the Manix is actually very close in size to the Shaman, and I think a lot of people will be surprised by that fact. And it is much bigger than the Demco AD 20.5. Let's go ahead and get these knives out of the way, and we'll bring out the next set of comparison knives. First up, we're going to have the Benchmade Bug Out, which is going to be a smaller overall knife. And the other crossbar knife that I like to use is the SIG K320 made by Hogue. This one here is going to be a little bit shorter, but it's going to have more weight, and I would say girth is about the same from top to bottom on the knife. I think they're pretty close in size, just a little bit shorter on the handle. You don't have as much room to move around for larger hands on the SIG K320, which is one thing that I do take heavily into consideration on my channel is the knife big hand friendly. Last two knives for comparison are going to be the budget knives. First, we're going to bring out the Kubi Royal KU321, and we'll bring out the Buck 110 Plus. And as you can see, Manix has more girth and presence than both these knives, larger than the KU321, smaller than the 110, but not by much. Pretty close in length there. What we'll do next is just thickness profile so that you can see how it's going to feel in the pocket and in hand as far as the thickness. Let me go ahead and compare that to the Royal. You can see it's thinner than the Royal. We'll bring the Demco AD 20.5 back out here. You can see these are pretty close, with the lightweight just being a tad bit thicker. And then we'll bring the Bug Out, which does has the titanium scales on it. You can see they are pretty close, too close to call. All right, thoughts and impressions of the lightweight version of the Manix 2, because I had the G10 version a long time ago, and I just needed funds for the channel, so I did sell that one. One thing that I know right out the gate, if you can afford a Shaman, but you want to get as close as possible to the experience of a Shaman, the Manix 2 is going to get you there. Now, where your big difference is between the Shaman and the Manix 2 is going to be that you have a more robust blade stock, ever so slightly more robust all the way out to the tip. You can see the Shaman out to the tip is much thicker. Well, not much, but is thicker, and it has a thicker blade stock overall. The Shaman's going to weigh more and have more thickness in hand than you're going to get with the Manix 2. So this is going to get you super close to the Shaman experience, but it's going to give you probably almost the same type of experience from a performance perspective. You get a full forward finger choil. I love that. It is absolutely big hand friendly. My finger fits in there a little tight, but it fits in there really nicely. I have plenty of blade left over. If I needed to do chopping task, I can move back comfortably with plenty to grip onto. The FRM keeps it nice and secure in hand, feels very confident in hand, and I like it a lot. You do feel the wire pocket clip in hand, but it's not hot. The advantage of the wire pocket clip is it's more discreet in pocket. It kind of vanishes a little bit more because there's not as much material, and also it's completely rounded, so it doesn't feel sharp. You can tell that it's there, but it's not going to poke you in any way, shape, or form. And the way Spyderco does theirs, it's actually pretty robust considering how thin it is. But if you don't like it, go and get yourself a Lynch Northwest deep carry pocket clip. It has the feet, so it fits underneath the screw, and then when it folds over, it's solid titanium. It's not going to move around as much. You feel all of the grips that are on the knife's handles, including the bidirectional pattern. So it is not going to be the most comfortable knife in hand, but you're going to feel pretty confident because the jimping, even the forward finger choil jimping to get your finger out on the tip, or if you need it for the push cuts, you're going to feel that, but it's, going to grip the hand. That's the purpose of it. It's going to be really nice to work with gloves, and it is really smooth. And I have found with the original Manix 2 and with this one, it just gets smoother and smoother with operation. The blade is a great shape. It's going to get you nice and low for the utility cuts. Going to be plenty thin with the really tall flat grind and very thin behind the edge. It worked really well. I took it through some paper. It was very smooth out of the box with no imperfections. I ran it through a fair amount of cardboard. And when I went back to the paper, I did notice a little bit of imperfection happening just off of some cardboard cutting. So I was a little surprised by that because Spyderco has a really good heat treat on there. But again, that cardboard is very, very cheap, very junky. Who knows what I ran into? But when I ran back through the paper, I noticed I was hitting on a couple spots. So I grabbed the strap, stropped it up, went back through it, and it was fine. The only thing that wasn't is right here. I kept hitting in that one spot where there's not a sharpening choil. So you may see that when I show you the paper cut right up on this edge. I was hitting it right there at the sharpening choil, but as soon as I moved over just a touch to get back onto the sharpened edge, it was very thin, slicey, no catching on the paper whatsoever. Love the spider hole. It is my favorite thumb hole mechanism. I have not found anything that I really like better than the thumb hole that is on the Spyderco, but of course that does add plenty of girth and presence to the knife in the pocket, so it's going to occupy more space to get that generous thumb hole out there. The other complaint that I have here, just make this so that you can disassemble it. You did update the Sage 5. Sage 5 can be taken apart and you can maintenance the knife. You cannot do that with the lightweight 2. I wish they would do it. I have seen some hacks where people go and find stuff to make it work. Just make it like that from the factory. Spyderco, we want to maintenance our knives. Even our lightweight knives. So I'd really appreciate if you would do that. Having said that, this is going to be really easy to care for. You can take the pivot out. You can slide the blade out with the washers. You can clean it up and put it back together. You're just not going to be able to get to anything else. If something happens with the spring, you'll have to send that to Spyderco to get it maintained. Having said all of that, do I recommend this knife? Yes. I feel like the Manix 2 and the Yojimbo 2 are two of Spyderco's most overlooked, underappreciated knives because they have fantastic ergonomics, they have a great blade shape, and they perform extremely well. Most people want a paramilitary or they want a shaman. And the shaman is great, but the shaman comes in at a significant price bump. You can get the Manix 2 starting for under 140 with the lightweight variant, like the very base model lightweight variant. You can't get the Shaman in a lightweight variant. The only thing that gets you close to that is the Native 5, and that's a lockback. It's not the same experience. Not exactly. Ergonomics, blade shape are very similar on the Native 5. I actually would recommend the Manix 2 if you're on the budget, because I actually prefer that compression lock, ball lock. I said compression lock. That ball lock, because it is truly ambidextrous. It is very smooth, and anyone can operate it. Even if you gave this to someone that didn't know how to operate a knife, they would see this button and they would know to pull it back, because that's the only way that you can go with it. and to close it. It's very smooth operating, very consistent operating, and truly ambidextrous. The compression lock is not truly ambidextrous. It does get your finger out of the blade path, but you can't operate it. In order to operate it left-handed, you need to invest in additional pieces. You need the CME, Compression Made Easy, from OCD for EDC, and then you can actually operate it left-handed. Now I have the skinny scales on here, so it does make it a little sketch, but that's because I put the skinny scales on here. The carbon fiber is very smooth, but as you can see, you can very comfortably operate it left-handed. I think the Manix 2 is very overlooked. I would recommend it over the Paramilitary 2. I think it has better ergos. I think even if you get the Manix 2 with the G10 and the steel liners, it has plenty of aftermarket support so that you could customize it. Doesn't have as much support as the Paramilitary 2 and Para 3, but it does still have plenty of things out there for you. Alternative recommendations, I would say the one and only alternative recommendation I'm going to give you is going from a US perspective is going to be the Hogue SIG K320. You can get the polymer version, which these are both plastic handles, for $140, same price. S30V, very well done. Hogue does a fantastic job on their edges. You're getting the able lock instead of the ball lock. The only thing I would say is that Spyderco has the advantage here from the thumb hole deployment. I wish that was just a little bit bigger. A little tough to operate that one. The other one that I'm going to recommend if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend over $100, get yourself Kaiser Sheepdog. Really good ergonomics, going to get you a nice utility shape. It's going to carry very similarly. It's going to put you on washers. I'm sorry, it's going to put you on bearings instead of washers, but it's going to, it's going to give you a very happy experience. You're going to have good ergos, good blade shape, good edge. This is still one of my favorite, probably my favorite Kaisers, the Sheepdog. I really like this, and they do a fairly good job on it, and there's a multitude of steels, just like with Spyderco, that you can get. But honestly, for $136, $132, I don't know where they're at anymore, to get in on one, man, you really can't beat the Manix 2. Just a very easy knife to recommend. My complaint, again, is just going to be the wire pocket clip, just because it feels like that shit's going to break really easy. That's really it. I don't have a whole lot of experience with S110V, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to know long-term how that's going to do, because I continue to cut with it. Now, I know that in the paper cuts, you're going to see, it took me a second to realize that that's what I was doing, is catching right on there, and I don't usually put a sharpening tool in there. I try to get as close to that edge as I can going straight down, but I might have to, because I struggle with getting that part of the knife sharp, and it's just easier to put just that little tiny nick in there for the sharpening choil and try to avoid catching that. But I guess in the end, it's the same difference, right? If you didn't, probably. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. I appreciate the support for everyone out there who has subscribed. Thank you so much. I hope all of you have a fantastic weekend. Until next time, peace.